Across the Desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
I don't know if you've noticed how automotive trends have been changing in South Africa and I suppose in the rest of the world. Not so long ago, it was, I think, R500,000 was the kind of price tag you'd have expected to see on to help you on getting a really luxurious vehicle, premium brand, and I'm talking about top notch. But today, it buys South Africa's just average car, and no disrespect to those vehicles. And the average purchase price of a new passenger vehicle in 2024 was set to be at about 490,000 rands or so. And this was according to industry-wide figures. The trends also showed that the Chinese cars are overtaking German cars as fan favorites in the country. And so we thought, what kind of vehicle are you driving and which one would you like to drive? And are you leaning more to the traditionally German sedans or the vehicles that have been around? Where are you leaning towards and why? And why is the most important question here. But people who know more about these sorts of topics, we have Khumbi Mtshakazi, who's a motoring enthusiast. Khumbi, hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Thabo.
Thank you so much for joining us. And Warren Tucker is also joining us. Warren, hey, welcome.
Hey, how are you doing?
All good, all good. Guys, I mean, before we even get to these things, this is Across the Desk, and usually Clement speaks to people who work from various industries, and we want to know more about what you do. And we know that you love cars, and we know that you really, really enjoy. Maybe let's start with you, Khumbi. What magnetized you to this industry? Why cars? And when did this love come up? When did you first notice that you are truly a cars person?
Thanks for that, Thabo. With me, I think it's always been a thing that has been in my blood. I mean, I've always been a child who has been in love with computers and cars. As I grew up, I mean, when I went to varsity and then I started, I did software development, and I still wanted something that could make an impact. And that's when, the love for cars kept on bugging me. And then I just started doing motoring. And 6 years later now, I am a Car of the Year judge. Oh. I am a motoring reviewer, content creator. So I think that the bug has always been there, and I decided, with my user experience and interface design as well as my development skills, let me just combine the two, and here we are right now.
Look at you there, Khumbi. But I mean, what is it about vehicles that you love, Khumbi? Is there one specific thing? Is it the speed? What are you fascinated with generally? And I'm getting a bit granular to find out where your love is more, because you find some people who just love fast cars and some people who love the mechanics of the car. Where are you leaning towards?
So for me, it's just about general mobility. What a car does to a person is give you a lot of freedom. You go from, there are people who wake up at 3 a.m. to go catch a taxi to head to, you're walking in Mabopane and you have to go work all the way in Roodepoort and you're catching 3 taxis. And there's just that sense of freedom a vehicle gives you. And, just making sure now you don't wake up at 3 anymore. You're waking up at 6 o'clock for you to get to work at 9 o'clock. You're able to take your kids to school. You're able to do all these things. So that sense of freedom that comes with mobility is something that's really special to me. And seeing people's personalities described in a vehicle is something that's unfortunately I cannot put into words, but that is for me what I love. Yes, the speed and mechanics do form a part of it, but seeing people really free when they're mobile is something that I really love.
Warren, with you, I'm sure it started some time ago as well. You've been in it for a while. When did it begin?
Well, we've got similar stories, but different. So for me, I come from a family, quite a big family, quite a diverse family. And I grew up in an area on the West Rand called Bosmont. I had a neighbor that was a mechanic. He worked for a place called TBS Auto.
Yes.
They used to be in Hyde Park. Now, these guys worked on American muscle cars, Corvettes, Callaways, Countashes, all the stuff that you could think of they worked on. And he would come past every so now and then with something special. And as early as I can remember, I've been fascinated with speed, right? Speed first, fast cars, and basically the bug just bit, and he used to take us to, they used to have illegal drag racing back then and legal drag racing when it was quite big in the 90s. So that's where the bug bit. And then obviously I wrote for Mail and Guardian.
Yes.
I've been doing this segment for Power FM, for SAFM and the rest of it. So I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
And I run a vehicle dealership. So I sell these things. So I can tell you what's going on the ground in terms of what people are actually doing.
And we'd like to know that. And so, speaking of which, Warren, let's go straight to it. The car trends right now. I mean, I was speaking to someone not too long ago, and they were just speaking about opting to get an Asian vehicle as opposed to a German sedan. And they was arguing that the German sedan, not just German sedan, but German vehicles, including SUVs, they are very pricey. And the person was complaining that they are overrated and they may be taken by their counterparts from Asia. Are those the trends that you are noticing right now, Warren?
So what happens in South Africa is people in South Africa are fickle this way. It comes down to price. It comes down to price. That's as plain and as simple as I can put it for you. Okay. South Africans want to drive a new car. Okay. At a price point they can afford. And the Chinese vehicles at the moment have capitalized on that. And the other thing that South Africans like is they like all that glitters. Okay. So all these Chinese vehicles come with all these nice, gadgets on them at a competitive price. And those are the things that normally sell. Now, I can tell you from experience, when people walk in looking for a car, they very seldom ask what the car costs. What they do ask is, what is my monthly installment going to be? Okay. And if you can match a vehicle to their monthly installment or their expectation, you already 90% there. Okay. Now, in terms of these vehicles that are coming in, South Africans have short memories. Right? Let me take you back quickly. In the 90s, we had Hyundai and Kia came here with a bang.
Yeah.
And everybody went and bought Hyundais and Kias. And then Hyundai and Kia pulled out. And everybody was stuck with Hyundais and Kias. Then Proton came into the country with a bang. Everybody went and bought Protons. Proton pulled out. People were stuck with them. So happened with MG. So happened with Skoda. And it seems to be a trend. You know, they'll come in and make some money, and then something goes wrong and they'll pull out. Now, if you look at our German marques, we've got factories here that we used to manufacture at our peak in 2015. We manufactured 617,000 vehicles in South Africa for export. Okay. We manufacture the Polo 8 here in South Africa for export. Okay. So if you look at our market, South Africans are quite brand loyal, in the sense that if your parents drove a Toyota, chances are your kids will drive a Toyota. Or if VW is the flavor of the month, in the family, people will drive a VW or Mazda or Ford. So that's sort of your trend. That's what you find.
Sure. And Khumbi, this brings me to you. How do you choose a good vehicle? What do you look for? Is it just about what the vehicle will be used for? Because at times we take that decision very lightly. Thabo just likes this brand and he just wants to go for this brand. And there's more that goes into it, right? I would like to believe an ordinary person who knows nothing about vehicles, such as myself. What do you look for? And again, the same question that I asked Warren, how do you juxtapose between these two? The ones that are traditionally the vehicles that we know, the German vehicles, as opposed to the new ones that we are seeing now, the Jetours and others, or Motors and others that are coming through. How do you make that distinction when you are choosing a vehicle?
Yeah, that's a very important question, Thabo. Thanks for that. I think personally, and I always tell people this, before you choose a car, you need to determine, like you mentioned, what are you going to be using the car for? It doesn't make sense for you to be choosing a car and you know that you don't need a 7-seater SUV, for example, but you're just buying it because the trend now is, we're in an SUV phenomenon. So you need to ensure that, listen, I'm going to be doing XYZ mileage in a month, and I'm going to be, going to Siboma, somewhere in Limpopo, where I need somewhat high ground clearance. And, and then the most important thing as well is you need to get your bum into the car. You need to narrow down. Warren spoke about your monthly installment. My monthly installment is XYZ, and my insurance, my fuel will come out to this month. I've got 10,000 rand to spend on a car, and I'm looking at, a compact SUV. I'm looking at a mid-size SUV because I've got, a bigger family, or I'm just looking at, something really small that I don't see the need for me to be, putting on big tires or etc. And then you go test drive each and every cars that I've just mentioned, or any brands that that you've narrowed down, because somewhat we are so, people are so caught up when it's time to buy a car. It's such an exciting process that we forget the little things in terms of just test driving a car, or when you do test drive the car, shut everything off, leave the radio. You will have the radio for the rest of your life with that car, but feel how the car goes. And, with Warren being in the sales side, obviously he wants to sell the cars, but, they can make a client so excited at times that, a client misses out the little things like, gee whiz, I ended up buying a Cherry Tiggo 8 Pro Max. I didn't need that. All I needed was a Cherry Tiggo 4, Cherry Tiggo 4 or Cherry Tiggo Cross, because it's smaller. It's likely going to cost me less, even on fuel and insurance. But now, because Warren, and I'm so sorry to do this to you, Warren, but now because Warren obviously has got some targets to meet, he says, you know what, just get into the Cherry Tiggo 8 Pro Max, but there's no need for that. So get yourself into the car, test drive the cars, and it's very important, and I tell everybody this, it's very important to, narrow down to what you want. I mean, the Chinese phenomenon is crazy at the moment. And like Warren mentioned earlier on, they've been coming in and going. But the nicer thing right now that I do see is that they're setting up shop. They're believing in the product, in their products a lot. 1,000,000-kilometer warranties that they're offering people because, they trust the products that much. They now have hubs in South Africa where, should parts be a problem, you don't have to wait 2 months for your bumper. You can essentially just wait a week or, maximum a week really. So I think people just need to, see what they want. In-car tech is important as well, and we're getting all those glitters from these Chinese vehicles. And I think that is where, unfortunately, the German brands are slightly losing it, because for every little thing, you're paying extra.
Yeah.
And you're just getting the base shell of a car. So I think they need to do better. But, get yourself into the car, see what you want. Does it feel nice when I'm driving? You're going to be driving that car every day for, now 6-7 years, depending on your rate. So get into the car, feel what it is.
Definitely. It's 21 minutes after 10 o'clock. Across the desk, we are speaking to motoring enthusiasts, Khumbi, Mtshakazi, and Warren Tucker. I know Khumbi will be leaving in a short while. Let's take a break and come back to this interesting discussion. Feel free, by the way, and tell us, what is it that you're driving? Ask them questions, especially now that they are here, about the kind of vehicle that you'd like to buy. And are you looking just for your favorite color? Are you looking for comfort? Are you looking for speed? And where to buy the vehicles? 011-883-0702.
Across the Desk
with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Across the desk, 25 after 10. My name is Thabo Shole-Mashao. In for Clement, we're together till 12. And on this feature, today we're speaking to motoring enthusiasts, Khumbi Mtshakazi and Warren Tucker, both motoring enthusiasts. And I've asked you to give us a call, ask them questions on anything that has to do with motoring, especially around issues of, it looks like German vehicles and, traditional brands are now going very hard against Asian counterparts. Are you more likely to test out the new vehicles that are coming through, or are you a traditional person who will remain conventional and say, I trust what I know? 011-883-0702. Khumbi, before you go, let me just take these two calls and then I'll ask both you and Warren to respond to them. Langale 2, you calling from Alberton. Hi, welcome.
Morning, Thabo Shole-Mashao and your guests.
Morning, sir. Welcome.
Good, man. It's not a thing, a question. It's rather a comment on these cars. I am a lover of these Asian cars, these Chinese cars, so they say Chinese cars. I drive a Japanese car, a Toyota, and I wanted to upgrade to a BMW. 3 Series, 320D, a second-hand, 70,000 kilometers on the clock. I have to pay almost 600,000.
Which year model?
My argument, 2020.
2020.
2020. Even an X3, up till 2019, you pay more than 600,000 with high mileage. So my argument in all of it is that the Chinese cars are good, but if you follow the GWM Haval Must Fall pages, you see the most horrendous, very scary stories. So for me, it's just a matter of saying, for people who can have the money to deal with the consequences and outcomes of what Chinese cars bring, then they must buy them. But for us, I think I'll still stick to a Mazda CX-5. It's a reliable car, same as my Toyota.
Yeah. Very interesting. Interesting view there, Langaletu. Appreciate it. I'll throw it to my two guests. They'll respond to you briefly. Vusi, you are in Winterveld. Hi.
Hi, thanks for the show.
Welcome.
I'd just like to hear two views from the two gentlemen. In the space that they are doing very well. Congratulations. But unfortunately, the elephant in the room is the transformation of the automotive industry is not happening. The dial is moving slow. And we've got two policies. I want to hear them about these policies of the industry that have enacted to transform the industry. The South African Automotive Master Plan 2035 and the Aftermarket Code of Conduct that were there to make sure there's transformation and inclusion of those who are operating at the margins of this industry. And it's not happening right now in our communities. Our black artisan entrepreneurs are excluded from entering the entire value chain of this industry. The second view that I want to share is from them. There are well-established white representative organizations in this industry, like RMI, which is a buffer for entry for black aspirant youth or new entrants into the sector. They've put barricades for black entrepreneurs to enter into this value chain. So I just want to hear them.
Gotcha.
What is their view? I know they're not responsible for this policy, but I just want to hear
their
from
views.
them what is. Yes, thank you.
Got you. Let's start with you, Khumbi. We will be going to the news shortly. So, if we somehow cut you in the middle of your discussion, your response, Khumbi, bear with us. And I'm hoping that you can just give us an extra minute. I know you have to leave, but let's give it a go. And Warren will take over after you. Khumbi?
Yeah, so in terms of what he refers to as the buffer, and I think that the RMI is put in place, obviously, to cater for the clients post should anything happen, and that you always have a leg to stand on, as opposed to going to fix your car at Khumbi, and then, should something happen, then you don't really, Khumbi can just say, dude, I fixed your car, and then that's it. But I do think that there are quite a lot of, black entrepreneurs who are part of the RMI. And unfortunately, I am not, that well equipped in terms of the sales and everything that's in terms of entrepreneurship that's happening on the RMI or the buffers that are happening there. I do think that it is industry specific. He spoke about the aftermarket code of conduct, and I think what most of the companies have been saying, manufacturers in South Africa, is that they're trying their best to get as much local content. I know even with BMW South Africa, we did recently a Roslyn tour, and they are trying their best to include a lot of South African artisans, and they've got a lot of programs where they're including most of the local content or local people, in terms of even people of color into these programs, and they're being taught. When you are a manufacturer that's producing cars for the world, there's usually a huge standard you need to meet. And unfortunately, sometimes most of the people within our country have not met those standards. And, they're trying to upskill them to ensure that our people of color do get to that level. We've got about 30% of local content that's being put into most of the cars that are being built here in South Africa, whether it's from Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Ford, Toyota, the likes. And they're trying their best to make sure that, we do get a lot of local content into and local people into the country, obviously helping that the industry to so that we don't get to deindustrialization.
Sure.
But they are trying their best. Unfortunately, though, there is somewhat low scaling that's happening. And that's one thing that they've identified, and they keep on trying to ensure that, they upskill everybody that
Khumbi
involved.
will have to
hopefully that does
come back to that, mainly because of time. It's time for Eyewitness News. So Warren, I'm going to give you a chance, if you will, just after the news. But Khumbi, also thanks very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I hope that next time we'll extend it to an hour. It's 29 minutes to 11:00.
Let's walk the talk.
7:02.
7:02 indeed, 23 minutes to 11 o'clock. Welcome back. It's the Across the Desk feature, and we are speaking to motoring enthusiasts. My guest, Warren Tucker, who's a motoring enthusiast. Warren, we went to a break, and Khumbi was saying goodbye to us, but I'm interested in hearing your thoughts as well about the previous question. I don't know if you want us to revisit it, or you really got it. You want to jump straight to it?
No, that's fine. So there were two questions there. So let me start with the first one. The gentleman that mentioned the issue around the purchasing of a BMW and versus the GWMs, the Vals, and all the horror stories out there. So let me give you a background picture, then this will make a bit more sense. A company like BMW has a footprint here in Roseland. They have a factory, they have a warehouse where they store parts, and they've had a long-standing relationship with South Africa in the sense that they keep parts for the market. So if you order something from them, if they don't have it, they guarantee that they will have these parts here within 21 days. They are also represented in South Africa by BMW AG. So the actual manufacturer has an office here, they have a desk, they have staff, and they've got a footprint here, and they run their business. Now, what tends to happen with a lot of these vehicles that just start being imported into the country, you have an agent that's appointed, okay, sort of like a franchisee. That person basically will come in and say, right, I'm going to sell these vehicles into the market. They go out, they get dealers on board. The dealers sign up to sell their vehicles, and they then start selling the vehicles into the market. Now, they start selling the vehicles into the market, and everything else that must happen falls secondary to that in terms of your parts, your supply, that sort of thing. And that's where these horror stories are coming from, as far as Cherry, Val, and all those other brands, right? So it's more to do with being an established brand in the country, right? Now, the reason why a older BMW would cost more than, let's say, one of the newer vehicles, first of all, build quality. Okay, I had a client that jumped out of a Volvo and XC60 and jumped into an Aval Jolion. Had it for 2 weeks, came back and complained and said, well, this is not the same thing. And I had to explain to them that Volvo is a premium brand, right? The build quality is different. The way they put the car together is different. Yes, this Aval has all these beautiful features. You can tell it to open the sunroof and do all of these things. However, it's down to build quality. So that's where I would differentiate and talk about price.
I see.
In terms of the second question, the client there was mentioning that, there's an issue about inclusivity and I think Khumbi hit the nail on the head. The problem is that, yes, we all want to play in that game. But we are playing on the world stage, and you've got to upskill. You've got to get new equipment. You've got to get government's got to get on board with the guys on the ground for proper funding strategies to help these guys compete on a world stage.
Sure. But Warren, our listeners are going to throttle me if I don't move a bit quicker, because they've got tons and tons of questions for you. So if you leave without responding to them, I'm going to be in serious trouble. So I'm going to try to move as quick as possible. 011-883-0702. Let me leave this segment to you. Ask whatever it is that you want to ask so that I don't monopolize the microphone. I think who's been holding the longest? It's definitely Stanley in Edenvale. Stanley, hi. Go straight to it, please. Welcome.
Good day to you. Good day, gentlemen. I just want a comparison or their advice on a CVT gearbox. We're very interested in buying a car that's got this gearbox, and we are not quite sure, what the pros and cons are.
Okay. Warren, did you get that? Do you want to ask Stanley one or two questions as follow-up?
I'd tell Stanley to run and run in the opposite direction of whichever way wherever the car is standing, run in the opposite direction. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay, the CVT box has a special chain inside the box. The chain stretches over time. When that box does say to you, okay, cheers, I need a recon, you need to have between 70 and 100,000 Rand laying around basically to sort it out. And a lot of the new cars are coming with the CVT boxes. It's old technology, but it's a cheap box to manufacture. But they do go wrong. The belt stretches, you have issues in terms of oil pressure, oil pumps. So if you can buy a vehicle with a traditional automatic gearbox or even a DSG gearbox, double clutch system, rather go that route. If the vehicle is brand new and it's got all its warranties and stuff like that, and you are planning to keep the vehicle until the end of the warranty, fine, no problem. But if it's a second-hand vehicle with absolutely no warranties and stuff on, please run and run fast.
Great, Stanley. I'm sure you got that. Nigel, you are in Eldos. Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thank you for taking my call. So I just have a question. I've got a Mahindra, which XUV 500. And it's had lots of electrical issues. Now I'm trying to move over to these Chinese vehicles. I'm not sure which one would be, more suited. I currently have a 7-seater vehicle, so I'm just trying to have some direction as to which one would be more reliable and have less issues.
Yeah, don't go away as yet, Nigel. Warren?
Okay.
Yeah, so that question's like asking basically how long is a piece of string. I can say to you that a specific vehicle is reliable and your experience with that vehicle might not be that way. So how I would answer that is this. If you are looking at a vehicle and you say you need a 7-seater, I would look at the entire range that's available and look from the Chinese vehicles to the Korean to the Japanese vehicles. Look at what suits your pocket. Look at what you can afford, right? And look at the warranties that are offered. Okay, but read the fine print as far as the warranties go. Khumbi did mention earlier that they've got, most of the Chinese cars come with 1,000,000-kilometer warranties. Read the fine print. There's some really nice, clever fine print in that 1,000,000-kilometer warranty there. For example, it will say that, well, of the 1,000,000 kilometers, the radio is only covered for 20,000 kilometers of that 1,000,000 kilometers. Right? So look at that, read the fine print, see what's going on there before you make that decision. Look, in terms of South Africa, we've got a lot of brands, and they're mostly priced. So a specific segment will have a specific group of vehicles normally priced within the same ballpark of each other. It then will come down to what it is that you're going to get in terms of the extras on the vehicle, and you make your decision based on that. Coming out of a Mahindra, right? If you're going to look at either your Hyundais, your Kias, your Havals, your GWMs, that sort of thing, your Toyotas, a lot of people swear by Toyota. You just need to go to Centurion in Johannesburg. I think the concentration of Land Cruisers, Fortunas, and Hiluxes there beats everyone across the board in South Africa. It's like all of them have just congregated there. You see so many of them. And that is a statement in itself in terms of what a good vehicle they are. So you're spoiled for choice there.
And Nigel, any follow-up? Are you good?
No, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, man. Nigel from Eldos, 14 minutes to 11 o'clock on the Across the Desk feature. We're speaking to motoring enthusiast Warren Tucker, and we've been talking all things vehicles. Where to buy, how to buy, what to look out for, the fine print, types of gearboxes that are out there. And this is your chance really to interact on those things, because some of us who know very little about cars, and I'm speaking about myself in this instance, we just look at the aesthetics, and there's just so much more that goes into buying a vehicle more than just that. Let's go to our voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Good morning, Thabo. It's Pat here. Listen, for the next 3 months, I'm selling the car that I'm driving currently, but I need a car because I love speed, precisely. I need something with a horsepower, okay? I have a family with extended family, let me say that. And I stay in Free State. So I'm not sure if I should buy a sedan or SUV, but something that has power, yeah, I must say. So I'm thinking of, I don't want a brand new car, all right?
Yeah.
Either I go to buy a used car that is good in conditions, good, or whatever, or should I go to a repo? What is your advice, guys? Thank you.
Okay, Warren, I'll give you a chance there. Do you want to respond to it quickly before I go to the next one?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's the age-old question. Do I go and buy a bank repo at an auction? Or do I walk into a dealer? So I'll explain it to you like this. If you walk into a dealership, and I'm talking an actual dealership, the CPA covers you in a certain way, in the sense that for 6 months after the purchase date of that vehicle.
Yeah, that's the Consumer Protection Act, right? I'm just
Yes.
getting rid of that. Okay, Consumer
Yes.
Protection Act.
Yes.
Yes.
And for 6 months after you've purchased that vehicle from that dealer needs to come to the party with whatever issues happen on that vehicle. Okay? Right? And the dealer also has to be forthcoming with the history of the vehicle, has to advise you whether the vehicle's been in an accident or anything like that up front. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go and get a repo, okay, yes, you might score in terms of price, but you have absolutely no idea what you are getting.
Mm-hmm.
So there you need to be in a position where you educate yourself about the vehicle that you're purchasing, right? And a lot of what goes on in South Africa is guys buy cars from salvage auctions, okay? Repair the vehicles, then go to retail auctions and dump the vehicles there. So you will buy a car that's been written off by the insurance, that's been repaired, that looks okay, right? But the vehicle has actually got a write-off mark next to it, okay? And you will then purchase the vehicle, you'll finance it, and maybe later on when you try and trade it in, the dealer that's purchasing the vehicle from you will pick that up, and then, the price will become an issue. They might not even want to buy the car from you. So just to answer the client's question, educate yourself, go through, have a look at both avenues, see which way you're going to go. When you go to an auction, the car that you buy at the auction must be cheaper than what it is that you could buy it from a dealer. If you are paying the same price as what it is advertised online or at a dealer, then you have lost.
Got you. Warren, we'll come back to you. It's 11 minutes to 11 o'clock.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Warren Tucker is my guest on 702 Across the Desk is the name of the feature. He's a motoring enthusiast. We are speaking about all things vehicles, anything at all that you want to know, the prices of vehicles, but more importantly, how do you choose a vehicle that is suitable for you, for your needs, and for everything else that may be of great preference in your life. He's joining us right now. As I said, I don't want to take too much of your time. Let me rather throw this segment to you to ask as many questions as possible. By the way, I'm not neglecting the WhatsApp messages and text messages and voice notes. I will come back to you shortly. Roger, you've been holding for some time. You call him from Johannesburg. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Thabo. I just wanted to find out, I have a E90 2005 model, a 320 diesel.
Yeah.
It has done just over 400 kilos.
Yeah.
I want to do it as a project. I want to redo. So I'm not sure whether I need to do the motor and the gearbox. The gearbox is now slipping out of gears. So I need to look at the gearbox. But I was wondering, the advice I got thus far was, why don't you buy a smashed one from the scrapyard and take that motor and put it in there? Or do I do the motor up completely with the reliable person? Because I know the car, it's been my car since that time. I just wanted to keep it as a project. I think it's going to become one of the classics very soon. What does your guest say?
Yeah. Let's hear what the expert says. Warren?
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to clarify. You said it was a 320D.
320D, yes, preface. It has navigation standard, and those 320s, not all of them have navigation. Only the big guys like the M3s and the 330s will come out with navigation. But this is a 320 to a spec like that with navigation.
Okay. So let me help you out like this. For a car to become a classic, there's a couple of things that have to go hand in hand. It's scarcity, demand, right? And obviously there must have been something about the car that people enjoyed at the time. Now, the vehicle you mentioned in the 320D was known as a workhorse. Okay, those cars used to get an average of, I think, 1,000 Ks on a tank of fuel. It was famous amongst sales reps. They used to love buying those cars for that reason. But as far as the classic would go, in that lineup, I would look rather at the M3. If I'm going to throw money at a car that I'm hoping for it to become a classic later, I would rather throw money at that. The reason being is that's a special car. The M3 is M-developed. Most of them were hand-built, hand-tuned suspensions. The BMW really, that's when they want to show off a little bit, is when they build an M3. Your 320 is your workhorse. It's your run-of-the-mill. It's what you needed to. You needed if you needed a car to get around and do what you need to. But now I'm going to come back to you rebuilding the engine. Prepare to part with 16,000 Rand per an injector when redoing that motor. Okay? Prepare also for the fact that the parts that you're going to need to rebuild that motor are going to be hellishly expensive because of the fact that you've done the mileage you've done. And diesel motors, especially BMW diesel motors, to refurbish are extremely costly. So you're the individual that advised you to buy an accident damaged one. Yeah. If you could find one with low kilos and do the swap, is actually not bad advice.
Okay. Warren, let's go to Kim quickly in Joburg. Kim, straight to it. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for taking my call. Thabo, I like you on the radio. You must get a permanent job there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I always listen to 702. I fall asleep with 702. Listen, sorry, I'm in a hurry. I know
lovely stuff. Thank you.
Now, I'd like to buy, Warren, I'd like to buy a Hyundai small car, i10. I'm a go-go. I'm 68. I need a car that's reliable, cheap, reasonable price, reliable, but I want to know, has it got the you were talking now about I don't know about cars, but I'm going to ask you, CVT car. Is that a CVT?
Great stuff. Warren?
Yeah, look, on that, if it's the Grand i10, I'm thinking of, no, those just have a traditional automatic gearbox. But just double check the fine print on there. The older Grand i10s came either manual or auto, and the gearbox they came with was your traditional automatic box. A CVT box is an expensive proposition for those small cars. They generally put them onto the mid-range vehicles. They put the CVT boxes there. With the smaller budget vehicles, they put a traditional 3-speed or 4-speed automatic, and that's it.
Warren, we have to leave it at that. In closing, I know a lot of people are still holding plenty of messages, but in closing, just literally 20 seconds. Is it best to go second-hand or new car if you can afford it?
If you can afford to buy a brand new car once in your life, go for it. But there's nothing wrong with a demo or a good used second-hand car. Just do your homework first.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for spending time with us. I loved talking to you, Warren. I hope we'll do it again very soon. All the best to you.
You too. Thank you.